And welcome back. When it comes to the topic of Christian persecution, there is no better authority than Chris Mitchell. Chris is the Middle East Bureau Chief for CBN News and author of several great books, including his latest, ISIS, Iran, and Israel. I sat down with him recently at TBN's Jerusalem studio to discuss the struggle that believers in Jesus are facing today in the birthplace of the faith. Take a look. Well, Chris, great to have you back on The Watchman in the city you call home, Jerusalem.
Great to be with you, Eric. Glad you're back.
Yes, yes. It's great to be here, Chris, with you. So much to talk about. You're here in the middle of it all. You're CBN News' bureau chief here in Jerusalem. But a place I want to start is actually a place you've also been, Egypt, not far from here. We had a horrific wave of ISIS bombings on Palm Sunday weekend, Christians being targeted there. Can you tell us the situation right now for Christians in Egypt? Some 10% of the Egyptian population, but really a tough time for them.
Yeah, Palm Sunday this year was a horrific, both in Tanta and Alexandria, 2 bombings by suicide attacks. I think about almost 50 died, over 100 wounded. Just horrific. But it really spreads the idea that, is it safe to go to church? There was another bombing in December of 2016 in Cairo, and ISIS said this was the beginning. Then in February, they released a video that said that Christians in Egypt are a favorite prey.
Yeah.
So
that was just recently.
Just recently, exactly. So the idea behind ISIS is, first of all, they want to destabilize the El-Sisi government. So that's one of their goals. The other goals is they want to destabilize the relationship between Christians and Muslims, bring a sectarian war. And the final thing they want to do is they want to kill and terrorize Christians, what they call their favorite prey. So it's a very difficult time for Christians in Egypt right now.
And that's a central part of the ISIS ideology, Chris, targeting Christians, the people of the cross, as they would call them. How has the Sisi government responded to this?
Well, the Sisi government has really been, in an unprecedented way, kind to the Christians. El-Sisi has visited church at Christmas. He's friendly to the Coptic Pope, and he's pledged that they would rebuild some of their churches. But it's very difficult for the El-Sisi government to protect Christians the way they are. Sometimes in rural areas where they face Islamic radicalism. We were down in Minya, which is down in Upper Egypt. And right after Morsi was deposed and took over from El-Sisi. At that time, they destroyed dozens of churches, Christian businesses, even an orphanage.
Chris, I remember that the summer of 2013 when the Muslim Brotherhood president of Egypt, Mohammed Morsi, was overthrown. There was a wave of terror against Christians and churches in Egypt. But Chris, it's not just Egypt. It's the region in general. You've written so much about this, of course, in your book, ISIS, Iran, and Israel. You've covered this extensively here for CBN News. Can you talk about the situation right now? A lot of people in America, we're very comfortable. We have mega churches with coffee shops inside of them, but their brothers and sisters in Christ here in the Middle East are facing a quite different reality. Could you talk about it a bit more? Yeah,
they're facing genocide. It's been officially announced by the European Union, by the U.S. State Department. It took the Obama administration a while to get there, but they finally did it. But they need to realize that their brothers and sisters are under assault here, whether it's northern Iraq, Syria, Egypt, in other places as well, that radical Islamists, whether it's ISIS or Al-Qaeda or other Islamist groups, they want to eradicate the Christian presence in the place where Christianity was born.
Right. This is the cradle of the faith. And, Chris, it makes me think of that old saying in the world of radical Islam. First the Saturday people, the Jews, then the Sunday people, the Christians. We're seeing it play out in real time now before our very eyes.
Yeah, I prayed a prayer one time, Eric, in a church in Erbil. It was a small church of people that had left many times Mosul.
Northern Iraq?
Yeah, northern Iraq. They had left their homes for fear of their lives. And my prayer was, Lord, help me to tell their story, because I think people in the West, in the United States in particular, really need to know that their brothers and sisters right now could be in refugee camps, could be displaced, maybe have immigrated to another country, but they need to know that they need prayer, they need support, they need their help. Last November, Eric, we were up in Karakosh, which is a town of 60,000 Christians, and back in the August of 2014, the church bell started ringing around midnight, and people just spread the word. You've got a couple hours to get out of town because ISIS was on their way. So about 60,000 people left, except for maybe a few invalid and elderly, and left their homes. We got to go there just a few weeks after after it was liberated by the Kurds. And it was just a devastated place. I mean, it was partly because of the bombing by U.S. and allied bombers targeting ISIS, but ISIS had devastated, desecrated cemeteries. They had destroyed crosses. They had burned churches. They had burned homes. They had left a graffiti on the wall that said, "We will crush the infidels. We destroyed your crosses." And now people are slowly trying to get back and rebuild their lives. There are some glimmers of hope. Yeah. Operation Blessing has been up there, Samaritan's Purse, other Christian groups trying to help them have micro businesses. But it's going to be a long, hard slog for some of these people to rebuild their lives.
The Trump administration, could that be a difference? 8 years under the Obama administration, very difficult. He didn't seem to be very interested in the issue of Christian persecution. Mm-hmm. President Trump has talked about this, how ISIS is beheading Christians. Do you sense that there may be a change in the offing under the new administration?
A huge difference. And I think just a few days after the inauguration, our good friend David Brody sat down with President Trump and asked him specifically about what he would do about persecuted Christians. And he said that he would emphatically help them. And I think that's a sea change from what happened with the Obama administration, that actually, if you look at the statistics, they let maybe about 11,000 Syrian refugees, almost exclusively Muslim. I think there were about 56 Christians, Syrians, who are allowed to come into the country. So I think there's going to be a huge change. There's talk of maybe a safe zone within Syria, northern Iraq.
For Christians.
For Christians and other minorities that need a safe zone to protect them from ISIS or other sort of Islamic groups.
Yeah, Chris, that's why your book is so timely. Folks, if you haven't picked it up, Amazon.com, wherever books are sold, ISIS, Iran, and Israel. Chris's latest book, please pick it up. Chris, thanks so much, my friend.
Great to be with you.
We'll do it again soon, hopefully this year in Jerusalem.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Chris. God bless you. Thanks again to our good friend Chris Mitchell. Be sure to pick up Chris's book, ISIS, Iran, and Israel. It is a must-read and really a roadmap for these Bible times we are living in. Well, up next, my final thoughts on how you, yes, you, can make a difference for the persecuted church and for Israel. You will not want to miss this. Stick around.